Hello, everybody. Dr. Carmen Bryant, Psychological Health Consultants and Services, and my program, Redefine Yourself, a program that was developed for women that are thinking of leaving or have left or recovering from domestic violent relationship. And specifically, I focus on narcissist abuse, recovering from narcissist abuse. And so hopefully you've been tuning into my program on YouTube. If you have not already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Carmen Bryant, DrCarmenBryant, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. And for those of you that are you're tuning in on my professional Facebook page, you're welcome to join me there, which is Psychological Health Consultants and Services. I do go live. Hopefully I will maintain my schedule of going live once a week, so that gives you an opportunity to interact with me and ask me questions. And so I really enjoyed. Thank you guys for tuning in on Sunday. I went live and I had an opportunity. I didn't mean to stay on that long, but it was kind of fun. So you guys gave me an opportunity to go from a more of an educational setting when I pre-record versus going live, where you can ask me questions and you guys allow me to provide you with some education information, and we really had a good time. So if you have not tuned in live with me, we really enjoyed ourselves, and I found out that a lot of the YouTube members that are watching are comedians. So I really enjoyed you guys. Thank you, Miss Donna, keeping it real. I think it's keeping it real. And then Miss Rahel and Mr. Naylor, who is actually a male viewer who has had experience with a female narcissist and has shared his story and asked questions and has interacted with the group. Thank you so much. I'm so honored that you would join us. And he does know that a lot of times I speak in reference to females that have gone through it, but I always say that males go through the exact same thing. And if you look, narcissists all have similar traits and similar behaviors. Remember that there are different spectrums, meaning that they are at different levels of narcissism. The low grade, mid grade, high grade, or the more elite that are more aware of their behaviors and what they're doing and what they are. And so, if you have an opportunity the next time I go live, please join me. Ask as many questions as you like. If I have the answers, I will provide them for you. I am not one that knows everything. And if you pose a question that I don't know, I will look it up. I will study it. Today, I just want to come on and answer some questions. I have some questions that came through. And also, Mr. Naylor, go check your email. I sent you an email. And Ms. Donna, keeping it real. And Ms. Rahel, I need you to email me. I need to provide you with some information. If you can, please email me, Dr. Carmen Bryant, DrCarmenBryant, @outlook.com. And for those of you that are viewing, you are more than welcome to contact me if you have questions, and if you don't feel comfortable with posting those questions live. I have had people ask me questions that prefer to remain anonymous, and so I respect that privacy. I know some of you are still in the relationships and some of you have come out and it's very fresh, and so I just wanted to go answer some questions really quick. And hopefully today, I was planning on going Periscope live too. So if you have Periscope on your phone, do know that on my YouTube channel, I've already taken most of you through a series of different teachings, so you can go through there. And so some of you, we've built the foundation of understanding what narcissist abuse is and how it affects you, and some of the things that they do. But do know, when you go to my Periscope page, I'm starting brand new, and meaning that I'm having to lay the foundation to provide the information. So the followers there are not familiar with me, and so I'm laying the foundation and teaching. So a lot of the things that I may say on that side of the scope is laying a new foundation to give them understanding, but I'm inviting them over to the YouTube channel as well. So you are welcome to go tune in, and I am under Dr. Carmen Bryant. And underneath it, I think my little name is and it says, but it says First Sergeant USA, and that is the title that I held when I was in the military, for those of you that asked the question. So that is the role that I had, the job that I served in, and I did before I got in the military. So it is Dr. Carmen Bryant. I am under Periscope, and please, you're welcome to click the like button and follow me there. So when I go live, I'm starting the foundation there. Most people don't know me, okay? So let me look. I'm looking at my email, and so I'm going to address address some questions that were posed. So one was from Miss Jennifer, and she said, and this is actually on my YouTube channel. So the question, it says, it's under the Narcissist Question and Answer Live, Words of Encouragement. And Miss Jennifer asked, Carmen Bryant, pieces of my story. My question is, how do I decipher for myself the difference between stress, anxiety, anger outbursts, and narcissistic tendencies? Okay, so first of all, knowing your story and knowing some of the people's story that have shared their stories. Remember, you're coming out of a domestic violent relationship. So some of you have come out of the relationship, and there's some residual collateral damage that you guys have experienced. Most of you come out and you're thinking like the typical empathetic individual in a normal mindset, which is, what is wrong with that individual and why would they do me like this? And so a lot of you are coming out hurt and damaged, and a lot of you are coming out with post-traumatic stress disorder or complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And I encourage you to go watch the video that I did on PTSD and complex PTSD to give you an understanding of the symptoms of those disorders. But Ms. Jennifer, based on what you've told me, you probably have come out with post-traumatic stress or complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Part of post-traumatic stress and complex post-traumatic stress disorder is stress, anxiety, angry outbursts, hypervigilance, nightmares, confusion, depression. Those are all a part of post-traumatic reactions. This is after the trauma has happened, especially if you've went through it for a long period of time. You are probably experiencing some residual of, and not probably, you are experiencing some residual of the trauma that you've been through with this person that is a narcissist. And depending on the level of narcissist that the person was and the type of trauma you experience and the type of abuse you experience, the worse the symptoms of post-traumatic stress is. Like I said, stress, anxiety, angry outbursts, depression, nightmares, hypervigilance, intrusive thoughts, continuously. For some of you, you continuously play this movie in your head. You keep going back to the red flags, you keep going back to thoughts of what has happened to you, and you're replaying it. For some people, they actually walk around arguing with the individual that's not there. So you'll bring up a scenario and you're arguing back and forth, or you'll come up with a scenario if you run across them. If you see them again, and you actually begin to have conversations with this person. Well, the whole concept of the narcissist to make sure that he stays in your head. It's like planting seeds. Remember, I talked about the womb of your mind and the sperm, which is the words of the person. Their whole goal is to make sure that those words stay inside of your head and grow in your heart. And you're angry. A lot of times you're angry at yourself. You're angry at them. And so one thing that I do advise Ms. Jennifer is that you go seek a counselor to deal with post-traumatic stress and to teach you coping skills to get over the trauma, because you have been traumatized. And remember, in the other videos where I talked about the trauma bonds, it's trauma bonds 1 and trauma bonds 2. So there's 2 videos I did concerning trauma bonding. They use that trauma bonding to bond you to them. And remember, I talked about the oxytocin in your brain that creates, sorry about that, y'all, but that creates the bond, especially when you're dealing with addiction. It's the same chemicals that are released that causes the addictions to drug and alcohols. The oxytocin causes the addiction or the bonding to the abuser, which is the narcissist or the abuser in general. Every abuser is not a narcissist, just remember that. And you are, now you're going through your detoxification, and probably, you probably have some urges sometimes to contact them, to talk to them, to cuss them out, to whatever whatever way that you fight back. But all you're doing is supplying fuel for that individual, for that narcissist. Whatever way that you respond, it just lets them know that the door is still open and they'll hoover you. And so now let's talk about narcissistic tendencies. Okay. So if you read scientific studies of psychologists and psychiatrists, when they've done studies, they tell you that we're born with narcissistic tendencies. And so I always explain it the same way, even when I'm sitting in counseling. When a baby is born with needs. The baby cries and they learn how to get their needs met by what they do. They cry, this person comes and feed me when I'm hungry. I cry when I'm wet. I cry when I'm tired. I may have a temper tantrum. And so they learn to get their needs met because they cannot articulate themselves. They cannot communicate like we communicate. They're babies. They're still learning, and they're learning how to bond with people. They're learning, how to be loved, how to be held, how to be touched. And the problem with the narcissist is that somewhere in that bonding period, they have been traumatized. There's been rejection, neglect, there's been sexual abuse. Something has happened where the defense mechanism has went wrong. And so most of the time when we are offended or when a person is mean or whatever, we kind of put up a defense where we know how far to go with we have established some type of boundaries where, okay, I'm gonna deal with you, and I'll deal with you at a certain extent, but I kind of put my guards up, because I understand that this is the type of person you are. We may even feel sorry for a person, this person appears to be very hurt, because hurting people hurt people. And they put a defense, hey, I'm just going to protect myself from this individual. This individual is hurt, but you have some type of empathy toward them. Based on what you're saying, Ms. Jennifer, is that you do feel bad because what you said is because some things you're just triggered. So trigger is a sign of post-traumatic stress because certain smells, certain attitudes, certain facial expressions, because remember, the narcissist mirrors your behavior. And not just your behavior, you're not the only one, mirrors people's behaviors. So they know that they're supposed to cry when something sounds sad. If a person hurts himself, they have learned to mirror people. Well, they know it's appropriate to smile and laugh at this joke, or sometimes they may inappropriately laugh at jokes and laugh at people, but they have learned to mirror responses. To cry, your face is supposed to look like this when you cry, or to be over dramatic, when people are dramatic, or, they've learned to mimic emotions. They learn to mimic your facial expressions. And so what you're saying here is that you're triggered. So trigger is an indicator to me that you are responding to some trauma, meaning that the individual may have said their key words they may have said, their facial expression, they may have had a certain tone in their voice, certain thing that they do, a certain smell that triggers your memory, because you do have memory in your subconscious memory as well, but triggers you to make you respond and to get your defenses up or get you anxious. Because if you've been with a narcissist for many years, they've trauma bonded you, and they have they will trigger you, when you meet other people that may ask or conduct themselves a certain way, you're triggered by that. But your defenses jumped up. So that lets me know you're protecting yourself. You're protecting yourself because it reminds you of something that has happened. It's a reminder of something that has happened to you. And then, and I have hurt some feelings. So you hurt people's feelings lately and just walked away with no apologies, like I wanted them to feel what I was feeling. Hurting people hurt people. You've been hurt, and so if they've triggered you, you do want to fight back because you couldn't fight and defend yourself with this narcissist. And so you have people that may trigger you. You may have people that may trigger you, and so you want to fight back. And sometimes we fight back passive aggressively, meaning that you don't come forward because you're afraid to speak up and say something because you were probably not tormented, but you were probably punished for speaking up for yourself. And so now you want to defend yourself, you want to speak up for yourself, you want to fight back for yourself, or you hurt me, so I want to hurt you back. I want you. So a lot of times people are paying the price for the pain and suffering that you went through by the narcissist. And there are a lot of people that get into a relationship, especially if you haven't healed, that if the person reminds you, and that's why I tell people don't jump into a relationship really quick, because if that person reminds you of the person that has hurt you, then that person is going to pay the price for the person that hurt you. And it could have been the narcissist, and the person that you're dealing with is no longer, but is not a narcissist. And so a lot of times you remind, I come into counseling all the time, and there's something that's called transference and countertransference. Transference, if I have it correctly, transference is when the, let me make sure before I give you this information, make sure I say it right. Okay, so transference, let's make sure I get it right. Sometimes when I don't use the terminology often, I kind of confuse it. So let's make sure I give you the okay, Got it. Okay. So transference. There's transference and there's countertransference. Transference is when you have a client, for example, for therapists, and I'm just giving you this information, Ms. Jennifer, to help you understand. Transference is, and it could be a part of trigger. Trigger is transference, trigger. So I may have a client that's sitting in there, and I may remind that client of their mother. Their mother may have been abusive, or I have ran into clients in which I'm military, and so their parents were military as well, but their abuser was military. If you ever meet me in person, I'm very tall, first of all. And for those of you, remember I told you I was very quiet and I was very short and petite. But when you actually meet me in real life, I'm actually very tall. I'm a very tall lady. And then I wear like 6-inch heels sometimes, 6-inch heels. That makes me almost about 6 feet tall. And so some people are triggered by tall people. And so and I don't have to say anything. I can see by their response to me that especially if they're dealing with post-traumatic stress or triggers, when I stand up to greet them, I can see the trigger, I can see the reaction or the response because I'm really tall. Number two, I do have kind of a raspy voice, and because I sound really girly. But I have kind of a raspy voice, and when I talk with my hands, and when I'm very, what's the word I'm looking for? Excited or very intense about something, I talk with my hands, and if you watch military people, a lot of time they talk with their hands, so they emphasize a point by hitting their hands, but for some people that's a trigger, because the abuser would hit their hands or make loud noises or stand up real quick to try to intimidate an individual, or hover over them to make them feel small, or they use their height, their size, or certain responses. They use that as a control mechanism. And so in counseling, sometimes people have transference where they handle you as if you're the abuser because they're triggered by you. I've looked like some people's parents, I've looked like some people's ex-wives, and so they were triggered because the source of pain came from the person that I remind them of. And so there also may be a love interest where, the person may have been in love with someone that looked like me, may sound like me, or I may remind them of a parent, the mother. They begin to have these feelings toward me as if they're in love with me, And so I have to address that in counseling. I have to address that in counseling to make sure that they maintain their boundaries with me. But a lot of that is transference, and in the negative way, we can use that in counseling, but the negative way is they're triggered and they become hostile toward me. And so I said that to say that even with you, Jennifer, you may be triggered by someone. You may be having, it could be a counselor, it could be a friend, it could be a co-worker, but something that they say or something that they do, or you're working with them, those triggers, just like in transference, those triggers cause you to respond and defend yourself because you're triggered. And a lot of times, people that are going through post-traumatic stress and complex post-traumatic stress, a lot of times the memories and the brain will try to protect itself and put some things in your subconscious memory. And so a lot of times your behavior is an indicator that there's something that you have not connected with your right here and now thinking, meaning your conscious memory. And so I have to connect the two. And so you're probably being triggered, and the things that you're being triggered by is a reminder of the abuse that you've went through with the narcissist or even before that. And so of course, hurting people hurt people, so you're hurting, so the way that you fight back is you may not apologize, you may walk off, but what you said is that I have feelings of guilt, and I feel as that I want to go and apologize for something, and it's also confusing for me right now. Well, that lets me know that you do have some empathy. You do recognize your behavior. A narcissist has no empathy. They could care less. As long as they're getting fueled, even by someone's pain, if they see you crying, their pain, your pain, even your anger fuels them. So everything is fuel to them. So hopefully this is not distracting you guys, because it's kind of distracting me because it's shining in the camera. Okay, so I'm gonna try to bring down the glare. Okay, that's why I keep readjusting the camera. So let me readjust it a little bit so you guys don't have this super glare. Hopefully that's better. I'm trying to do the best I can so you guys get the glare. Okay. This time I have the camera on the floor instead of on the table, so it doesn't look like you're looking up in my face. But a narcissist does not have the capacity to feel empathy for people. They don't care. Tap that. But they don't have the capacity to care for people. They don't have the capacity of I'm so sorry, you guys. The more I move the camera, the brighter it gets. Okay, let me I'm gonna cover this up. Okay, so it won't be so bright. It's making it worse. Super bright. Let me make this. There we go. There we go. Okay, it's not so bad anymore. So I think it was the camera, my camera. So I'm gonna cover my neck up so it won't shine in the camera. Okay, I'm sorry you guys didn't make big old pause in here. Okay, so but anyway, as I was saying is that there we go. But what I was saying is that a narcissist does not have the capacity to feel empathy for other people. There is a portion of the brain that just doesn't connect like that. And some of that comes from trauma. If you guys go watch my Periscope later on today, hopefully I'll be able to record it today. I'm going to go through some of that too, you know, about the empathy and the damage as to why they you know, some of the reasons why they may not have empathy, or some of the trauma that has caused them to be unable to feel empathy for people, feel sorry for people. You know, you may think they feel sorry for you. They may portray that, but they understand, you know, that's just like a robot that they're building overseas, where the robot is collecting data to see how you move your face, how your facial expression. It watches like facial expressions, so when it talks, it's trying to perfect the facial expressions that go along with what you're talking, and the voice inflections. And so the narcissist is mirroring you in the first place. And so as the narcissist is mirroring you in the first place, they're mirroring you. They don't have empathy, so they don't have the capacity to feel your pain, and could care less. To them, that's fuel, because you responded to something that they did, whether it was a negative thing or a positive thing, but you provided them with some type of fuel. You, on the other hand, Miss Jennifer, you do feel bad. You're hurt. You're wounded and you're injured, and therefore you're conducting yourself like that because you're hurt and you're wounded, you're injured. And so hurting people hurt people. And so that's why I encourage you. I think you really need to go and get some counseling, because like you said, sometimes you feel confused. At times I feel like I want to scream. You know, yeah, because you're hurt, you're wounded, and you haven't recovered from your pain yet. And so you need to find a good counselor that can work with you through the grief and loss process, number one. And number two, to deal with your post-traumatic stress and complex post-traumatic stress, whichever one. But yeah, you're still responding to the trauma that has occurred to you. And so hopefully you'll be able to recover from that, okay? Alrighty, you guys. The camera keeps getting lighter and lighter. Let me see if I can fix that. Oh, okay, that's better. So anyway, so that is for Miss Jennifer. Responded to Miss Jennifer. Okay, I have another question, and I'm gonna keep her anonymous. And she asked regarding the narcissist. That I mentioned in one of the videos, that the narcissist's mind is constantly moving. They're constantly thinking. Could this resemble ADD in the sense that the narc is unable to focus, which may contribute to frustration and subsequent rage? First of all, yes, it can. Now, keep in mind that narcissistic personality disorder is a personality disorder. They still have depression, anxiety. You know, that's a part of narcissism. You know, when a person has narcissistic personality disorder, remember, they're an individual. The way that they present themselves is not the way. They're opposite of the way that they're presenting themselves to you. They present themselves in an illusion of grandiosity, that they're smart, they're beautiful, they're very confident, you know, very cocky individuals, you know. But in actuality, what they're presenting is totally opposite than what they are. They're very insecure people. They're very sad individuals. They're very hurt individuals. They usually hate you because they can never be what you are. And so they want to be what you are, but they know they'll never be what you are. When they see people that like you and people enjoy talking to you, they hate that because that's what they want. You know, that's something that they want. They want people to like them because they know that people don't like them because of their behaviors, the way that they are, but they assume people just don't like them. And so they put on this facade, so a lot of times, you know, you're dealing with an individual, yes, you know, they may have other disorders. So some of them may have ADHD. Remember, you have narcissism narcissism, and though it's a personality disorder, they may have other things. They may have sociopath, psychopath, which is the anti-personality disorder, which is a part of the on the personality disorder spectrum. And then you have anxiety, depression. They may have ADHD. You know, some of them have autism. I have met them that are more on the moderate autistic spectrum, which they may be the age of 20, 23, but their emotions and the way that they communicate is that of probably like an 8-year-old. But they were also had narcissistic personality disorder, and so they can have ADHD. But because a narcissist is constantly thinking, they're always trying to overthink you. That's why a lot of them can't keep still, and it's almost like they have ADHD, or it's almost like they're borderline. Their emotions go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. But that's all a part of some of the symptomology of a narcissist. Another thing that you mentioned, well, number one, if you're dealing with a narcissist that's dealing with frustration and rage, they're probably on the lower spectrum of narcissism. And there's the lower grade, there's that mid grade, there's the higher grade, or like the high grade narcissists that are more in tune with themselves, and they understand what they are and they know what they're doing. A lower narcissist, the one that is they rage really quick, they're very angry, they're very physically abusive. Those are usually the ones that have a lower cognitive function, and they don't have what's called temperance. I did some notes to answer that question too. So they have a problem with maintaining emotional control. They also, they have a problem regulating emotional control, or regulating their emotions, and they have a problem with self-control. And so anytime you may tell them about themselves, or tell them how bad they are, or tell them something about themselves, they are the type that rage because they hear it as you're criticizing me. And so I already have a low self-esteem, but now you're criticizing me, so they have to pay you back. The problem is a lot of times also with the raging and the tormenting and the trauma bonding, they always try to keep you emotionally unstable. Any way that you respond, if you respond in tears, if you respond in anger, if you respond with silence, with hatred in your face, you are supplying them with some type of fuel. They can't get the fuel one way, they're going to try to get the fuel another way. The other thing, let's see what you said here. What you said is the mind is always working, not in a state of reason, related to focusing on things such as, where did I put that envelope? Did I pay the bill? Or do I have a dentist appointment? Any kind of stuff. It looks like mindless mishap, and an argument inevitably results, ending with that individual raging and on a tirade. Okay, first of all, you are a sort. Okay, so in a what we would classify a normal, pretty healthy relationship, you have strengths and weaknesses of people. And so, one partner in the relationship may be really good at handling bills, or they may be really good at, managing the home, managing the bills, paying the bills, making the appointments. There's a lot of things that one partner might be really good. The other partner may be really good at something else, anything, so one partner might be good at something and the other partner isn't good at something. And remember, narcissists look at people, they don't look at people as people, they look at people as appliances or supply, and that supply provides them with fuel. And so you may serve the purpose. You're a good supply because of the fact that you know how to manage the home. You know how to pay the bills. You know how to make the appointments. And so you know how to regulate your household. You know how to regulate everyone. This is something that you do. And so this is your comfort zone. This is what you do. That individual narcissist that you're dealing with probably has no sense of, what's the word I'm looking for, administration skills, or, coordination skills. And so they, even though this is helping them, they don't care. They rage because they can't do it. And I know it sounds almost like senseless. It doesn't make any sense, but they can't do it and you can do it. And so they have to tear you down because you're good at something that they're not good at. And so it doesn't matter, even simple things that they're supposed to remember and they just don't know how to do it. They rage and they turn it back on you as if you made a mistake. You can sync your phone to their telephones and put their appointments on there and put reminders on there, but they still, because of the fact that some of them are lazy and they know that you're good at what you do, and so they don't follow through. Or I know one individual was telling me about her narcissistic husband, and she's very responsible when it comes to getting up in the morning, setting the alarm, getting up and being at work at time. Well, the narcissist gets up at a different time and never sets the alarm. So by the time she leaves, he's still in the bed, you know, and at the time when she's leaving, she does not have an opportunity to call and wake him up, because she immediately, as soon as she hits the road, she's work. And so it's the narcissist's responsibility. So he ends up late or getting up late or being late for work. He immediately calls her and tells her, you made me late for work. I can't believe you didn't wake me up, and why didn't you wake me up? They won't take accountability and they're irresponsible. And so but he never once told her, hey, can you wake me up, you know, before you go, so I'm not late, because I know sometimes I don't hear the alarm. No, nothing was said, and he ended up being late, and what ended up happening was that she was blamed for his tardiness and she was unaware of it. And so that's all that gaslighting. And so you may be good at something that he's not good at, and maybe a lot of things, or she, you know, may be good at something that the other one is not good at. But of course, when they fail to be able to do something or remember something, you are that good supply that's able to manage and maintain that household, and they can't do it, and they know it. I also said, you know, when you're dealing with a lower narcissist, remember, you're also dealing with different levels of intelligence. Not every narcissist that you meet is smart. I hate to tell you that. And not all of them are educated. You know, I have met some dumb narcissists. You know, when you pull that veil out from over them, or when you pull the blinders off and you look at them, it makes you, now there are some women that have left relationships, some men have left, matter of fact, and some men have left narcissistic relationship, and when they step back to look at the whole scenario and watch this thing play out, they're like, oh my gosh, this is like the smartest, dumbest, ignorant person I've ever met in my life. They're as dumb as a rock. They sound so intelligent, and they use this big vocabulary. You know, people think that they're so impressed by this individual, and this is like the dumbest person I've ever met in my life. You know, so there, you know, you got to think there, you know, there are different levels of narcissism, but there's also different levels of education and different levels of intelligence. So not every narcissist that you meet is smart. You know, they are what we would call hustlers, you know, or great salespeople. You know, those salespeople that throw out a whole bunch of information to stimulate your emotions and get you all hyped, and then all of a sudden you're paying for stuff, you know, so they're good salespeople. And so as soon as you pick up on this, they get you distracted. And remember the great illusionists? You know, magicians and illusionists get you to focus on this while they're doing something in the background over here. They get you to, even with the riddles, I've seen some riddles on, they get you to focus on all this stuff, but they don't get you to focus on the main thing. I'm getting you to focus on this, but I'm going to tell you this big story to get your focus off. If you catch up with this, and I'm already over here. So when they start, when you're talking about they're always thinking, they're always thinking of a way to keep you unstable as well. They have to keep you emotionally unstable. And whatever you spew, whether it's anger, whether you try to love them, whether you try to do something nice, even your facial, they study facial expressions, they've studied body language, they study the way, the influx in your voice, the frequency in your voice, they study everything. And everything to them is fuel. They're constantly thinking of how to get fuel out of you. And they're usually miserable, angry individuals, and those that are usually on the lower end of the totem pole for narcissism, the lower ones that have no emotional or cognitive regulation, or are unable to regulate themselves, those are the ones that are very they're like tyrants. They're like Tasmanian devil. They can't control their anger. They're constantly, and they don't even realize that they're a narcissist. They don't know that they're they know something may be wrong, but they don't know that they're a narcissist. And so hopefully I answered that question. Let's look. The result is blame, and usually pointed towards you for mindless mishaps. Yep, that's how they do. That's exactly how they do. So let's see. Okay, well, I think I answered all the questions, the 2 questions that I had. And so I encourage you guys, please send me questions, especially if you don't want anybody to read your question. Just let me know that you don't want to be identified, and then I'll read the question without, and I'll try to keep you as anonymous as I possibly can to make sure that no one knows who you are. And you just ask me the question. If you post a question on YouTube, it usually comes through my email, so I usually search through there. So whatever way that you want to send me the question, I am more than happy to answer the question. I'm going to try to go Periscope Live today to start kind of on a basic foundation of narcissists and what they do and how they do what they do. So hopefully you guys are able to tune in if you are on Periscope. My Periscope handle is Dr. Carmen Bryant, and underneath it you'll see First Sergeant USA, so that's how you identify me. And if you have not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. It is Dr. Carmen Bryant. DrCarmenBryant, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. Please subscribe and hit the bell so whenever I go live, you'll know, so you can come in and ask whatever question you'd like to ask, or if you would like to make comments, or just interact with me when I come live. And also whenever I post new videos, you will be the first one alerted in your mailbox. It will come to your mailbox. And if you are on Facebook, please go to my Facebook page, which is Psychological Health Consultants and Services. I do post the videos there as well, and you're welcome to email me, drcarmenbryant@outlook.com. I'm also on Instagram, Psychological Health Consultants and Services. I think everything's like underscore. I'm also on Twitter. You guys can look at me on Twitter, Dr. Carmen Bryant 1. I think that's my handle, Dr. Carmen Bryant 1. You'll see my picture on there. All my pictures are pretty similar. You are welcome to follow me on Twitter. You can talk to me on Twitter. I usually just post like the videos on Twitter, but I usually don't have big conversations. No one really talking to me. So, but you're welcome to go on Twitter and you can have a conversation with me, no problem. And as throughout the day when I look down at my tweet, I respond in between clients. I want you guys to stay tuned because I am completing my online form, putting together my coaching program. I am a licensed mental health counselor here in the state of Washington, so I'm in my office and I do see clients all day, but I'm also beginning, I am a certified life coach and a certified clinical professional, trauma professional, but I am beginning my life coach series, which I will try to have up and running by January. I just have to put up the platforms because I would like to do webinars. So for those of you that may not want to do coaching, one-on-one coaching that I will offer, you can go to my webinars, it's paid webinars, to provide you with education about narcissism and narcissist abuse and the recovery process. I will also do online support groups where you can join me. It will also be a paid program where you guys will you can come and join me. You can do a monthly subscription where you get to come do webinars, and you can come and do online support groups. Join me whenever I go live. So there's a whole bunch of ways we can do things now. I do have a colleague and we're working together to do a radio program so that you guys can call in and ask me questions. So I have a radio program that is up, and I do travel and speak. If you need me to come out to your city, you contact me and let me know if you'd like me to travel and speak. I am more than happy to do that. And just give me an email, let me know what it is you're looking for and what you'd like me to speak about. And I thank you guys for tuning in. I want you to make sure that you guys have a great day, okay? My friend always says, you go and be great, and I add to that, I really mean that. Thank you guys for all your support, and remember, Miss Rahel and Miss Donna being great, the greatest, and Mr. Naylor, go check your email, and Miss Donna and Miss Rahel, go send me an email. I need to send you some information, okay? You guys have a great day. Enjoy your day.